circle of fifths. Again, utilizing what we've learned from the harmonic series and also this golden rule of the fifth, which remember is going to come up through this whole series and why it's so important. So we really want to let this seep into our musical being. So as an example of how this golden rule works, I want to speak about the circle of fifths, which governs all of our key signatures. And again, it's called the circle of fifths for a reason. If you haven't heard of this, I'm glad to be able to introduce you. And for those of you that do know about it, but maybe might not know how it works or why it works, let's talk about that briefly. So we're going to go clockwise in the circle of fifths, and then we'll go counterclockwise. So what I mean by this and why it's so important and tied in to this golden rule of the interval of a fifth is that C major is our only key signature that doesn't have any sharps or flats in it. So we'll put that in the middle of the circle. Now, we go to one sharp, and then everything is going to be moving by fifths. So if we go up a fifth, let me preface this by saying, I think it's important, as we know our alphabet in any language that we speak, that we know our musical alphabet. And our musical alphabet will start with C, and it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we return to C. So 7 different letters in our musical alphabet. So when I speak about a fifth, I'm counting up a fifth on my hand. C, D, E, F, G, the interval of a fifth. If I go a fifth up from D, D, E, F, G, A. So we're going up. D will always be after C, B will always be before C, and so forth, just so that we're clear on our musical alphabet. This is good if you have a binder to put up top, just so you can let this musical alphabet, again, be a part of your musical being, of your musicianship. Very important. Fundamental. So the key of C has no flats and no sharps. So if we move up a fifth from C, now we have C, D, E, F, G. We're in the key of G. G has one sharp, and that is F sharp. So key of G has one sharp, and that's F sharp. So keeping true to this theory and to these relationships, after G would be what? G, A, B, C, D. Key of D. Now key of D has 2 sharps. And if the key of G had one sharp and it was F sharp, we can stay true to our theory and say if D has 2 sharps, what 2 sharps are they? Well, we want to eliminate any guessing from what we do musically. Eliminate the guessing so that we're true to our tool belt. And then if we don't have the tools, we'll work on what we need to do to get those tools. And so that if we have a question, we can rely on our musical strength and our know-how to help figure these things out. So key of D, 2 sharps. Check this out. So again, if G has 1 sharp, F sharp, now we'll move up a fifth from F sharp. F, G, A, B, C. So the key of D now has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. So you see how everything is moving in fifths. From our key centers, C up a fifth to G, G up a fifth to D. From our sharps, key of G has 1 sharp, F sharp. Then key of D has 2 sharps, which now move from F sharp to C sharp. Let's keep this relationship true, and you guys work with me on the next one. So if I move up from the key of D, which would be our next key center, count D, E, F, G, A. Key of A now in our key centers, C, G, D, now key of A. So key of A has 3 sharps. So let's work through this together. If there's 3 sharps and our first sharp is F, our second sharp is C sharp, what's going to be our third sharp? Well, let's count up by a fifth. C, D, E, F, G, G sharp. So key of A has 3 sharps and how do we know what sharps they are? Because we continue to move up by fifths. So key of A has 3 sharps. F sharp, C sharp, G sharps. You see how everything revolves around the fifth. For a second, let's move counterclockwise into our flats. So now we're going to be moving down by fifths. So now key of C. We're going to move down a fifth. What do we have? C, B, A, G, F. Counterclockwise, our first flatted key is the key of F. Okay, and see how we're moving in fifths. And that first flat is B flat. Okay, let's stay true to our concept and our theory and our intervals. What would be the next key? Count at home. F, moving down by fifths. F, E, D, C, B flat. Now we have clockwise, key of C, one flat, key of F, two flats, key of B flat. Everything moving in fifths. Key of B flat has two flats. We know that the key of F, the flatted note is B flat. So let's move down and count intervals by fifths. B, A, G, F, E. So now we have B flat and E flat, which are our first two flats in the key center of B flat. Let this all sink in a little bit. All moving in fifths, whether we're moving clockwise up in our key signatures, going in our sharps, or moving down by fifths in our flatted keys, this is how we achieve all of our key centers, and we know what our sharps and flats are. So what we want to do again is eliminate any guessing from what we do and seeing how our circle of fifths work. And what I will say is that we're going to use C, key center of C, without sharps and flats, as a template for everything that we do. And my wish for you guys is that we lose being afraid of our sharps and flats, and we view it as a template just like we view C. No matter if we have 5 or 6 sharps or 5 or 6 flats, we view it in the same way. So now I invite you at home, which will be part of your homework, to finish the circle of fifths with the sharps and the flats, staying true to your theory and to this concept of the fifth.